Alright, we are recording, and if I sound different, it's because the trouble I was having last week with my audio interface has only gotten worse. So I'm using my headset, which means the small mic that isn't... I mean, it'll work, it just isn't going to be very good. And also, I don't think I have all the balance stuff set up right. Like, I'm in much larger danger of clipping with it. Yeah. But it, being a completely different audio device, is safe. Alright, where am I going? What am I doing? Okay, I'm going over here. Yeah, this whole thing with the audio interface has been very frustrating. And I really just... I think the only solution I have at this point is to just get a replacement. And part of what makes that so annoying is that I have... I think there's a way to open that up, I just don't remember what it is. And I mildly lost my train of thought, but basically... Yeah, I think I'm just going to need to replace it. That is, the hardware is failing on me. Its tendency to be... Like, it has a USB light on it, for if there's a USB connection, that turns off. Well, it flickers where it loses connection. The driver, well, the software for managing it, also talks about being, hey, there's no device connected. Yes, you are. Yeah, so... And what really makes it also frustrating is a week ago, I sent in a support ticket for help with the manufacturer because, like, you know, what's going on? Any ideas? And I've yet to hear anything back. Yeah. My feeling on that is I'm thinking I have to replace the thing, that there isn't a reasonable fix I can do. But, and I've been happy with the product until now. I really have been. But the fact that support has apparently decided to ignore a customer that's like, alright, well, I don't feel I need to, in replacing this, send them my money. It's like, I can... What? So I have been looking at alternatives, have found a couple, and I think I know which one, I just haven't ordered it yet, but that may be just later today. Because, I mean, even earlier today, it was working, kind of, where, yeah, it would cut out, but at least I was getting playback. For a little bit, anyway, and now it's like, it's just totally flaking. Oop. I don't want to mess with those emails. Actually, no, those are cassowaries, I think. Still, mean. Why does it look like that's bark? Did it burn somehow? Anyway. Yeah. But hey, at least got the headset I can fall back on. In theory, I also have an older audio interface I could use, but wiring that all up right now is not really an option. I do not have the time for that. So, yeah. Alright, so as far as the news stuff that people would actually care about, there's quite a bit this week. Some of it I'm not quite so prepared to speak on, and that would be the Radeon RX 7600. Is that right? I think I have the number. Here, let me just scroll up and look. Yeah, 7600 is its launch, which it is weird to me seeing some of that, because I get it's not very strong, and it doesn't. It is disappointing that you'd expect the 7600 to be matching or beating the 6700 of the prior generation. So you can basically this one step up, one generation back. You expect it to compete there, and it doesn't. It's like, okay, I understand being disappointed in that. I do. But it still is, at least it's, an under $300 card. It is good for what it is offering. It just isn't offering as much as we all want it to be. But it still is weird to me because it's like, well, as I recall, there were reviews for the 4600 Ti, the RTX 4060. Sorry, the RTX 4060 Ti, where it's like, yeah, it doesn't beat the RTX 3070. So it's like the same argument can be applied there, and it's a more expensive GPU at the moment. So I don't know. It feels like a lot of the, and it's also appreciably more expensive at $400 than the 280. I think it's 280. Yeah, 279 of the 7600. It's weird seeing people try to compare these two as though, oh, see how bad the 7600 is compared to the 4060 Ti. It's like, yeah, it's 25% slower. It's also appreciably less expensive. So price to performance, the 7600 still wins there, excluding ray tracing. But ray tracing isn't everything. Although one thing I did see, where was that? I thought I saw one review that was actually suggesting that, I think it might have been Tech Power Up's review of the 7600, that was suggesting ray tracing on the order of the RTX 2080. I don't remember, but that's actually kind of neat. I just put the 2080 in the test system for collecting data for the Witcher 3 performance analysis, because I am actually doing that, and I need to do more today. Yeah, shit, some of that's going to be screwed up, though. What I want to do today, I've already collected some data on the 2080, but I want to do the, hang on just a second. I want to, yeah, ooh, hang on. Let me, okay, how about this? It's, alright. I've pulled down the volume in OBS, because I was just looking, it's like, oh yeah, I'm definitely clipping. In fact, I probably just clipped again. Yeah, I mean, it would take me longer than I want to spend before getting to this recording to get this all set up properly. Anyway, I want to do a new graphics quality analysis. I think it's going to be my third one for The Witcher 3 at this point, with the 2080. But I have collected data with it. It is performing nicely. Unfortunately, one issue that I did encounter months ago is still present. And also ray tracing performance is still crap. Even at just the RT level, so that's the ray trace global illumination at performance, it's still like tanked it down to 40 FPS, and it was a stuttery, uncomfortable 40 FPS. And in the original graphics quality analysis, and this is part of the reason I want to do another one, because things may have changed, I did find the that FSR 2 actually, for my preference of what artifacts there are, in the video, I found that to be better than DLSS. So I did also collect data, because I collected initially this way, with ray tracing on, and FSR2 performance. That did.
The convoy's next stop is the fishery. The pirates are moving Oliver to a chopper there.
I've got to get a vantage point before that exchange happens.
But even with FSR2 performance, yes, performance then got up to around the 60 FPS mark, which is good, which is the target. But it still is I'm at 60 FPS, and it doesn't look that good, because FSR2 performance definitely is losing some image quality. But it's worth knowing that when I did do the prior graphics quality analysis, I will be doing another one later today, it was interchangeable with DLSS 2 at its performance level. I don't know what XeSS would be like, but yeah, I mean, it's... And as I was saying, the artifacting is just different between, like, chances are it was something like DLSS. I would have to look through my notes, but to be certain. But I think it was that with DLSS there was temporal artifacting, whereas there wasn't with FSR2. But FSR2 may have had a loss in fine detail, and it's just of those two, I'll accept fine detail loss better. So, yeah.
You're mine, dickhead! Holy fucking shit! You're going down!
Oh, seriously?
That ledge looks perfect.
Wow.
Where's Oliver? I better wait until I see him.
So yeah, just with the 7600, that would be interesting, because if ray tracing was comparable to the 2080, if I'm remembering what one review said, then that AMD, the ray tracing is behind, rasterization is up, so it's sort of a okay.
Leave him alone, assholes.
Then that would mean that the rasterization should be passing the 2080. At least potentially, so.
Can't let them put Ollie in the chopper. Run, Ollie, come on! Keep moving!
I get unlimited ammo, but I still wish I could be using the sniper rifle I actually
Moving!
configured. Oh, come on.
Steal the boat!
I don't know where this is coming from, and I can't see anything. Okay, now I see you there.
Dude, let's book it. Thanks for saving me. Hey, nice tats, man.
Let's get out of here! Boat!
One thing
The boat straight!
that I do remember seeing, though, about some of the 7600 reviews, is apparently it is not quite as power efficient as the 4060 Ti, which that is a problem. but it's also I mean,
Bridge.
for how long was it the whole, oh, well, you know, power efficiency? That doesn't matter when you're getting a gaming GPU. And whenever NVIDIA had issues of power efficiency, that's when it was.
Where? Wherever, shoot them.
I mean, still, it would be nice if that weren't the case, but it is also, I wonder how the how power efficiency is with undervolting, since remember with AMD drivers that is supposed to be just a button click away. It's like that's how I enable it on the Vega 64. It's not an option on the
Chopper!
580.
Kidding me? I'm on it! It's going down! No!
Okay. That again.
We did it.
You saved me. And they're putting the screws to my dad. He was about to give them a ton of money.
Ollie, you would have been sold right into slavery afterward, even if he'd paid.
Oh, shit. Man, this is some heavy shit, man. I don't know if I can deal with this.
I know you, Ollie. You're stronger than you think. Come with me. I have someplace safe to hide you.
Lisa, Daisy.
I found all of them.
Ollie!
Hey, girls. Ah, it's good to be
So
back.
glad you're okay.
Oh, I'm as high as a kite and the greenhouse is on fire.
What kind of a place is this?
Wow, this has got quite a kick. Does anyone want to have a puff before I put it out?
I'm in. Hey, I'll be with you in a second. This place is like heaven.
Jason, when you have a sec, can you come over here? I have something to show you. I got something to show you too. Come on. Hey, I'm building a cross for Grant.
Thanks. Haven't really had time.
We have to talk.
We will. Just not now. I need to find Riley. If anything happens to that kid...
I miss you. Okay? And you're carrying all these weapons and you have all these weird tattoos and... I'm not saying you shouldn't go rescue them. I'm just worried it's affecting you.
Lisa, don't worry. I'm taking control of my life for the first
I
time.
know,
That's
you're right.
a good
I've
thing.
been working really hard on that, and I have a studio job waiting for you. I helped Steve.
Oh, look, I don't want to talk about your exes right now. All right, this is my path. I've got to find it on my own.
Okay. Okay. I get it. You're stressed out. We can meet up later. I love you. Now go. Before I try and stop you again.
Okay.
Better find the others.
Okay, I will grant I was thinking that might be something for health. No, that's for a drug trip. That... I don't remember what the purpose of this is. Anyway, one other thing I just remembered because I took a look at my notes. One thing funny with the whole Save 600 reviews is people are jokingly referring to them as ARC 750 reviews.
Landmine.
So where was Colby then?
That's the funniest part. He got AWOL for a hookup, and the girl was so spirited that he fucking passed out.
Poor man, it really makes you think.
Oh, yeah, about how high Ollie is
These are the
right
fun
now.
stories, Oliver. You wouldn't believe the real ones. Yeah, I'll be back. Hey, are you grabbing a beer? Grab me a beer.
bitch, I'm not buying.
Grab, baby, give him some money. Give him a little. All right, I'll give him some money.
Give me some money.
All right. Who wants money? I have tons of money. There you go. Anybody else want money?
Thanks, honey.
I mean, in some ways, this is part of good storytelling because of the juxtaposition. I mean, think about the conversation you just had with, is that Rachel? When it's one a week, it's easy to forget names. And then this is, like, you know, where they came from. Okay. Although this may have been a ways in the past, it's still, yeah.
Fuck beer. What's the drink here in Bangkok?
The Mai Tai.
Forget it. Let's do Sambuca shots. 5, 6, 7.
Girlfriend troubles? Hello.
Told you?
You know, Jason, Lisa is a...
Lisa, okay.
I have shots.
Now that, right there, is what I'm talking about. Let's have those shots, hey, baby.
All right, hang on. Watch it. Don't spill it.
Take it.
Cheers, baby. Okay, to what?
Oh, shit.
Does that mean this one's Rachel?
My brother Riley forgetting his pilot's license. Where the hell is that motherfucker?
To my father's black card, to my black card.
So one thing about the ARC 750 review joke that's also kind of funny is at the same time, now it's already ended, they were actually, the ARC 750 was actually marked down by $50, so instead of being $250, it was $200, and people were like, man, Intel's really upped the drivers, so it's like at that price, it's actually really good. Have I been up here? I was actually tempted to order one because it's like I have money for it. Of course, I need to get a new audio interface, it seems. And it's like, you know, could add that to the collection for the test system, but it's like, yeah, but things are still improving there. And where's this taking me? I just don't remember. Okay, it looks like it's just over here. Wow, is this stuttery at the moment? Well, true, it's also the... I need to actually, like, disconnect the thing. The audio interface, because it's flaking in and out, and that might be causing some issues. But I decided not to spend the $200 that way because unfortunately, I don't get to use the test system that much. And also, it's still a first generation product. I'd like to see Intel second generation. I mean, legitimately, I want to see its second. I am interested. And when Intel first announced, I was thinking this will be interesting. I will acknowledge, though, that I was a little hesitant with the idea because of Roger Kadori, but that's not... Don't take it as a bad thing, it's just, you know, Vega was very good for compute, for graphics, not so good, and that was one of his main projects, so... I mean, great for Intel's ultimate goals, which was to have GPUs to go into data centers. The gaming stuff is... kind of a cream on top kind of thing. You know, it's like this extra layer that it is important for them.
Jason,
But
I zeroed in on your friend Keith Ramsey. A hitman who works for Hoyt purchased him. He's usually at the bar in the shantytown.
What's the guy's name?
Buck.
So his name is Buck, and he latched him.
There. Wow, is this stuttery? Oh yeah, it's hang on. I'm just pulling it. All right, there. I say nothing we're doing right now should be stuttering. And hang on, let me just. Okay, good. And it's like I'm just seeing the lights flicker on and off, on and off. So it's like, oh yeah, that's definitely the driver engaging, disengaging, engaging, disengaging, engaging, disengaging. Yeah. Shit. Fully pulling that thing out will take me a while, so I am not happy. But anyway, going back to what I was saying concerning, where am I going? No, that's a step too far out. Okay, Shantytown is all the way over here. Hang on, is there a hang glider? I think there might be. Just top that off. So yeah, with the whole, I do want to see what Intel's gonna manage with a second generation. I mean, it's also, they've achieved a lot, is my understanding, because I haven't lived it myself. I don't own one of these products. But my understanding is they've achieved a lot just with the driver optimization, which does indicate that they got a lot of the hardware stuff right. Right? I mean, better drivers, optimizations get more out of the hardware that already exists. So if the potential wasn't in the hardware to begin with, optimizations don't matter. So it is... Oh, that's a radio tower. So yeah, it's, you know, they must have done something good there, and second generation should be better, both for hardware and software, because they're going to have a lot more understanding, and probably start trying to integrate certain things that they learned into the hardware design. Yeah. And I'm sure a lot of people are just going to be happy with the are just happy with the potential of upsetting the duopoly of AMD and Nvidia, especially with how pricing has been. But I mean, it's as unhappy as people are with the current performance of the low end, the RTX 4060 Ti and the 7600. At least they are priced better. They're not priced well. We're not there yet. But they're closer to where we want them to be, right? So we should be happy that at least there's that. But we want more. We definitely want more. And one thing about it that I am also still... still curious about, because it's like the 6700 and 6700 XT outperform the 7600, which is disappointing, but they're also still available and at around the $300 to $350 price target. Well, if that's the case, then it's like a theory that I talked about before, that AMD might be very intentionally using the previous generation to fill in those slots, and how that can potentially help keep pricing under control for them. At least the suggested pricing. Because if you're using the stuff that's already price reduced because of age to fill in, then you can't open up a wider gap between previous top end and current top end. Like the 6900 XT launched at $1,000. The 7900 XTX, which is a stupid name, I will grant that, launched at $1,000. You can't do that. If the 6900 XT, or rather 6950 XT, was still at $1,000, was still being sold at that, then you could push the 7900 XTX up. But no, it was down, was less expensive. So there was a gap there, so they could slot the 7900 XTX in at $1,000. What did Nvidia do? They pushed prices up again. Now, true, just for the Halo product, but... Oh, wait, no. The 4080 was also elevated, wasn't it? I don't remember. Honestly, some of it I just don't pay attention to anymore, because it's like... this is just not in good places, and I'm not currently looking to buy an upgrade. So, yeah. But, I mean, it's like... You can be unhappy with it, and that's fine. I'm not... But at least it is a... I do think AMD is being a bit kinder in the larger scale pricing of stuff compared to NVIDIA that is like, yeah, we'll just increase the pricing. It will be interesting also to see, though, what comes in the future, because, like, is the... Come here. There. You're not hunting me. Like, is just the 7000 series in this case, where it's not that huge improvement on the previous generation, at least for the 7600, is that a sign of things to come, or is it just a quirk to this generation? Because that's possible. That is possible. That is just a quirk here, and I think I had seen somebody give a commentary, this would have been a while ago, that some of the large steps that we'd seen, generational leaps in performance before, might actually be slowing or ending. And I think that they were referencing specifically that the way they're working on reducing the transistor size, like the whole 7 nanometer versus 14 nanometer versus 28 nanometer, things like that, that the ways that they're trying to do, and I'm doing this from memory of something that maybe I didn't read right, or maybe I didn't read, it's just manifested in my mind. It's like it's AI, I'm hallucinating it. That's more a joke on AI than me hallucinating anything, but anyway. Okay, I think the marker is just behind the icon. And I lost my train of thought a little bit. But that basically the difficulties with getting the denser and denser transistor packing in there and having them be more efficient and achieve higher frequencies is what the argument that I think I had seen was saying, was that is getting so much more difficult to achieve that they saying that, yeah, we might not see the large generational improvements. 28 to 14 nanometer was a major step, so there was a lot of performance then that was made possible. But 14 to 7, still a major step, but there's a little bit less there. The 7 to 6 or to 5, even less. 5 to 3, even less. And it's like, we can't rely on process nodes for performance improvements. But it was what I recall being the suggestion of that commentary. But if that's the case, then that means you're left to transistor design and also software. Well, circuit design and software. And unfortunately, I think it is safe to say we can't rely on software because developers are not always competent. Or, well, no, let me put that a little differently. They are not always obsessive, I think might be a better way to put it, about getting every bit of performance out. I shouldn't say it not competent, but when I said that, though, my thinking was, what I just said, that they're not necessarily aiming for, let's get every bit of performance out of this. Some do, but I'm sorry, if you launch a game that is sucking down VRAM and then people complain, then one update allows you to drop it by a gig of usage. No, you missed something there. You were not obsessive about making sure that all that was well optimized. But it's still, it's stuff like that where it's like, if we were seeing greater focus with stuff like that, if we were seeing more things like, oh yeah, that's right, I did get one. I don't need that yet. Okay. That is why. I want to get that. But variable rate shading. I mean, think about it. With the 2060, I had Series M4 running with SSA 4X. No, only going to a 1080p screen. but still is 4x. That's, you know, as many samples as 4K. Thanks to variable rate shading, though, less of the shading work. And it was actually playable at that, with a 2060. And people are obsessing over, oh, well, we gotta do things like, you know, DLSS to achieve it. It's like, VRS is something that is just in the APIs, which means that a lot more would support it. It's not a, well, if you want DLSS, you need to have NVIDIA. It's like, no, if you want VRS, you can have whatever you want, so long as it's new enough. It's also something that can be tuned by the developer so that they can ensure that things look the way they want them to, which is not always... Oh, I see him. Okay. Which is not always an option with DLSS. It is an option with FSR, but I'm not convinced people are necessarily taking advantage of that. Which I guess is also a problem with trying to say, hey, just use VRS. But still, it's like, you know, we have those technologies. We also have sampler feedback that could help alleviate VRAM. Mesh shading. Does any game use mesh shading yet? That has such potential. Yes, it would limit you to only, not even all cards that support DirectX 12, but only... I don't remember if RDNA 1 supports or not. It might be RDNA 2 on AMD's side. But on NVIDIA's side, it goes back to Turing. The RTX 20 series. Which means then that, you know, as far as NVIDIA is concerned, they should be like, yeah, do mesh shading, it's awesome. So, why aren't we seeing that stuff? And it's, yeah. I don't know, I feel like some of the focus, some of the efforts right now is in the wrong spots. That it's with developers, some of them are, let's just get this working, or just, you know, make sure that the console version works well and not worry about PC, we'll get those optimizations later. And it's like, start applying some of this awesome technology today, especially because some of it is, I mean, all those things are years old now. I was saying mesh shading actually predates NVIDIA's mesh shader term for it. At least I am convinced of that. That what AMD described for the next generation, next-gen geometry pipeline and primitive shaders, I am convinced that was mesh shading. That NVIDIA's approach was a little bit different, and because it's NVIDIA, that's what caught on. I am convinced of that. But that all the stuff that AMD was talking about with those technologies that are in the Vega architecture, my Vega 64 is capable of that, but AMD never really got that stuff solidified, and no games fully utilized it. But still, it's like, you know, that's how old that is. It's not being used. So yeah, I'm just. I think we need to enter into a period of software trickery-dickery as opposed to hardware trickery-dickery at the moment, I guess is one way to put it. It's a silly and stupid way to put it, but it's a way to put it. And speaking of that actually reminds me of one of the other things I have noted here. And I've got lots of others actually, or at least a lot of points about major topics. Intel announced, well, released a white paper on something that, the funny thing is, I think I had already seen a rumor about it years ago, at least something like this. It is called x86S. And the idea is they want to make a 64-bit only architecture. So there's a lot of legacy stuff in x86-64, which, despite Intel talking about how, oh yeah, since, you know, we invented Intel 64, it's like, yeah, which didn't work. AMD invented the modern 64-bit instruction set, not Intel. But anyway, that them trying to claim superiority. Now, to be fair, Intel did have a 64-bit system. It just didn't really work. No one liked it. AMD with x86 64, it maintained backwards compatibility with x86, and that was a big deal because that was okay, this can now go everywhere and people can benefit from it. Intel's thing was more specialized. Okay, so we'll be fair, need to be fair on that. But it was also like they gave 2004 as the date that they came up with that, and it's like we already had x86 64 before that. So anyway, or AM64, I think was an alternative name for it. Anyhow, but the idea is to strip out a bunch of the legacy stuff so that you have a simpler architecture, hardware-wise, and also software-wise. There's a lot of instructions that are in there that aren't really needed anymore. I mean, I think CPU-Z might also be just in MS System Info, that you can get a list of like all the different SSEs that are there and all these other things. It's like, yeah, I think SSE 2 is still supported. It's like that thing has not been touched since maybe even XP days. Might be longer ago than that. Sorry. So cutting out 16-bit but also 32-bit, it's not unreasonable. But I thought that I had seen years ago that Intel was working on something that was essentially that, where it would everything that it would not be able to natively run would just be virtualized. The idea then being, for those specific tasks, because you wouldn't have the specific integrated circuits, the ASICs, to achieve that, well, to do the work, it would technically be slower, but at the same time...
What would you like?
I just want to sell the stuff. But at the same time, you would also have increased... Because you could simplify some of the larger circuitry designs and such, you could have the CPU running faster. So it would actually basically balance out to the same performance. And they did mention that in their write-up, the press release for the white paper. I haven't looked at the white paper, I will acknowledge that. That they would, when there's something that they removed that they need to be able to run, you can just virtualize to achieve that. And it's like, yes, this is truly an interesting and a approach to the future. I don't know how well it will succeed, but it makes sense that they would be working on that, because I mean there's so much legacy stuff. I mean, it's also, if you look at the door is right here. Sorry, I saw this thing doing that, kind of flashing, so I came over to it and ignored the door. But yeah, so it does make sense to me, that effort. I just don't know how successful it'll prove. But now for this.
You're Buck?
Well, it's not my birthday. She must be Christmas.
I'm here for my friend, Keith.
Nah, sorry, it doesn't ring a bell.
You bought him from Hoyt.
Ah, him. He said his name was...
You're hysterical.
All right, then. Let's get down to brass tacks. You must be Jason Brody.
Look, I just want Keith.
Jason. We're not all savages here. We're just businessmen, responsible capitalists. I've got something that you want, right? That's a product. You've got something that I want.
And what the hell is that?
Temper, Jace. Be careful. If you do me in, you'll never get him back. Find this for me. You score that, and you and I are even, Stephen. Keith goes with you.
Bring me what has been lost.
I've seen this knife before.
Knife? What do you mean, knife? It's not just a fucking knife. It's art. More history in this than you and Keith's 4 arses squeezed together. That's my fucking fee, right?
Where is it?
It's treasure hunter. He knew where it was. Advice, he got the wanker's boat, research he was doing on some Chinese treasure, and his crew. Do you know what else he got?
The knife?
No, not a fucking knife. Its location. Mm-hmm. You want Keith back? Get on the goddamn boat, find out where the artifact's buried before someone else nicks it. On your bike. Fuck off.
Okay. And I just want to... How long have I been going? 45 minutes, okay. There. Let me... Oh, it's actually not that far away, so I'll just position myself and then stop. Also, while he was talking, I looked... One other thing. I forgot about this, and I should not have. So, Microsoft put out a blog post concerning the future of Windows 11, new features, and it's like, yeah, AI this, AI that, blah, 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 blah. Ooh, you're finally adding support for more compression and archiving systems than zip. Sorry. Yeah, they're actually going to be adding in support for 7-zip, gzip, var, and tar, which is awesome. And potentially also more, because they're going to be using the libarchive project, which is an open source project. And it supports more things like bzip is in there as well. But it's like, awesome. This has only taken how many decades? Some would point out when focusing just on 7-zip. I don't know. It's certainly been a long time. I mean, it's one of those things that people would say they should have had that in Windows 7. They should have had that in Vista. They should have added it into XP. But it's Windows 11 that's finally going to get it. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, it is also one of those things that, to me, and it's also funny because the post, it's almost treated like a footnote, and it's like, no. This is the thing that people care about. They don't. The average person doesn't care about the AI crap, but the idea that, hey, we may finally get to not need to have to install one thing or another to sorry, I kind of bumped the button. You have to install one thing or another just to open up these various files. Yeah, that's a reason to upgrade to 11. I mean, personally, I think I would still... I found something called pzip. Oh, man, I don't even know how many years ago now. And I like that. I like its interface. But it allows you to work with all those same things. It may, in fact, use... I don't know for certain, but it may, in fact, use libarchive as well. But I've been quite happy with that, and I'd probably continue to use it because I know with that, you know, like, I can apply different compression levels. So I can control all that in there. I don't know what Microsoft will do as far as supporting that in a Windows 11 integration. I just don't know, so I'd probably continue to use it. Though it could make some things nicer because I do, for work actually, have some batch scripts set up to package together certain things into the, well, a self-extracting 7-zip archive, or just into a zip file. And I actually, no, you can't with a batch file. I think it requires PowerShell to do something similar on Windows, just using Windows itself for zip. But it's, you know, that's one reason I may continue to use pzip. But no, I've been happy with that. I'll probably keep using it. One thing though, if you're curious, yeah, actually I will check since I wanted to stop about now anyway. Here. It unfortunately is one of those here. Alright, pzip.github.io. That's where we want to go. Because it is one of those that somebody malicious purchased like pzip.com or something like that, and that is then a malware site. So yeah, I just opened up the application, clicked on the pzip website in the application itself, and yeah, it's pzip.github.io, and I've been very happy with it. I don't really have more to say than that. And I'll probably continue to use that even after. Well, yeah, it's like I currently have no system on Windows 11. Going to Windows 11 will probably be a new system, which the first one I would target would be a new laptop. I'd probably still install pzip on there. Sorry. And now I'm just looking because I have it open. It supports 7-zip, ACE, which I don't remember what that is. ARC, that I've seen, not too common. ARJ, BR, I don't know that one. BZIP2, I know that one. Cab for cabinet. DMG, which is predominantly with Mac, I want to say. GZ, which is gzip. ISL, LHA, PAK, so PAK files. P, which is its own thing. RAR, TAR, which are different. But you do so often see TAR. UDF, WIM, XZ, which is an LZMA compression, I think it is. It's just called XZ. Zip, ZipX, ZST, which is the ZSTD compression method that Facebook actually came up with. I'm pretty sure that's what that's referring to. Yeah, Z standard files. And hang on just a second. Sorry, I just really needed to get a drink of water and clear my throat. Yeah, the Z standard is actually kind of nice because from what I've seen, it can give you comparable compression to LZMA, which 7-zip uses, but can be much faster. So it's like it's one thing from Facebook I actually use. But one thing about this is that some of these are not compression methods. Like TAR, as I recall, is not a compression system. It's an archiving system. So I just want to... Yeah, no native data compression. I'm not seeing... Okay. It's essentially just a means of storing a bunch of files together. And the reason you need that is because some compression systems, like gzip is this way, bzip2 is also, can actually only compress one file. They can't compress multiple. Zip has that ability, but some others don't. So that's why you'll see like tar.tar.gz, where tars at first makes a tarbell, it puts all the files together in one thing. And then that archive is what gets compressed. And it can be very effective, very efficient. I've actually started archiving and compressing some, like I use R, so the libraries for that, I'll do that to make a backup because it'll take like a gig down to 200 meg. And which makes some sense because in many cases, it's a lot of small text files. And that stuff can compress very nicely, but you do need to properly compress it. And 7-zip does, the 7-zip compression methods do that quite nicely and does it better than zip. I don't remember if tar also has some data protection capabilities. I think some of the archiving methods do. I just don't remember which ones do and which ones don't. Okay, I got two other things in my notes here. One, Devolver Digital announcing Neva, which is from the same team as Gris, so I'm looking forward to that. I really enjoyed Gris. And Talos Principle 2, which I still need to play that. I do have that. I've not played it yet. I do want to, though. So looking forward to eventually getting to that. And I am... Hopefully Talos Principle 2 is what every fan of Talos Principle is going to want. And nothing that I saw that was a rumor that FSR 3 may have a couple things to it that, if true, are very interesting. One is it might be able to. So FSR 3 is going to be AMD's FSR with frame generation. So that's neat. That's good. Well, I would never want to use frame generation, but it's like that's their target for competing directly with DLSS 3. But apparently some source code for it was found. Like, it was in a Linux driver thing, or just it was put up on GitHub with part of the GPU open stuff. A reference that it might be able to generate as many as 4 frames without it be configurable, which these would be hallucinated frames, so I'm not too thrilled by that, but it's still like, this is interesting. I mean, if only for experimentation. And it would also be neat if, in theory, you could apply that to parts of the scene. Like, imagine if you could do that for ray tracing stuff, because I do think that there should be an effort, and I think there are ways that you could do it, even with old ideas, to decouple ray tracing and rasterization. So imagine if that were achieved, and then you could do the hallucination, the frame generation, with just the ray tracing data, so then rasterization isn't slowed down as much. I could see that potentially working. I mean, it would be essentially just temporal reprojection of the ray tracing data, which I think is already being used. But combine that with a decoupling mechanism, I think could be very effective. But the other thing was supposedly it might also be driver side, where you'd be able to just toggle it on from the drivers. And I find the reaction to that funny, because some people are like, no, it would be terrible because it wouldn't be motion vectors. Okay. What do you think the drivers do? Drivers have access to all of the data. So, it's like it could figure that out. It could get access to that if they are present. And it's also, definitely if a developer allows the hooks there for the motion data, and then it could be just, the driver handles it instead of it all needing to be put into the game engine. But there's also, you can generate motion vectors after the fact. Like, that's how all modern video compression works, is it generates motion vectors. So, in theory, you could pass the frames through the encoder, whether it's 264, 265, AV1, or whatever. Get the motion vectors out of that and use that. Would it be good? Not necessarily, because of the occlusion disocclusion issues, but it would work. And it's like, hey, now you have motion vectors that are going to cover like 90% of the screen. So, yeah, that wouldn't be totally impossible. So, I'm sorry, just the whole, it won't work because you need motion vectors. I feel that those are people that absolutely believe that anything NVIDIA does is only impressive and innovative and is a true invention that's benefiting all of gamers. And it's like, some of their stuff they didn't do first. It's like, I will still, if I ever need to describe to somebody how DLSS 2 works, it will be, it's SMAA T2X, but the morphological engine is a trained neural network, and it has an upscaling step in there too. That's what it is. That how they've described it in some of their blog posts, that's essentially what it is. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think that's a fine way to do it. SMA is a nice technology, and it's a good framework. It's actually open source, and you can change out the morphological engine there. That would be fine. Or improve the morphological engine. And that, in my opinion, from what I'd seen NVIDIA describe, is what they're doing. That's fine. But people that are like, it's AI, which means it's this magical, wonderful thing. It's like, no, it's this. And it's also, I'm sorry, AI is not that impressive. AI is decades old. It legitimately is. Optical character recognition is one of the older uses of AI. And no one thinks about it as AI anymore because it got too easy. And it's like, anything can do this, so they stopped calling it that. Okay. One issue with using a wireless headset, I think the battery was just dying. So I turned it back on, but I do need to stop soon. Maybe it's the machine starting to tell me, hey, don't you insult AI. Sorry. I'm insulting people more so than the AI. Now I'll get another hour out of this battery charge. But no, I mean, it's AI, stop treating it as something magical. It is not that magical. It has been around for a long time. We're getting much better at using it today, or at least having hardware that can use it. But it's a tool. Sometimes it's the right tool to use, sometimes it's not. And I do feel that people are really forgetting that whole sometimes it's not the right tool to use. And it's just let's throw it at it anyway and see what we get. Or they just keep thinking that, oh, it's this greatest thing, but it's going to kill all these jobs, or oh, it's going to try to kill us. It's like, no, reality isn't going to be quite like that. It's what jobs might be lost, there's going to be new jobs made because of people using the tool. And it's not going to, I'm sorry, it's going to take over the world. Yeah, because you keep training these things on literature that describes AI trying to take over the world. It's not going to succeed. It's not actually going to do that. It's just you're telling it that's what it's supposed to do. So how do you expect it to respond when you ask it those questions? All right. Now, if only to keep the battery from dying on me again, I shall stop now. I've certainly been talking long enough. Hopefully see you next time. It depends on... I don't want to have to use the headset again. Hopefully I will be able to get the audio interface situation taken care of by next week. But I don't know. I just don't know. I'm frustrated by it all. See you next time.